Right, John?
I agree. Well, actually, let me add something that to what you just said. It's really what you grow up with. When I was 4 years old, an aunt of mine bought me this book called Batman from the 30s to the 70s, and it had so many different styles and types of Batman in it that I actually grew up really not having a specific idea of what Batman was. Whereas, a lot of people my age think of a very specific artist, whether it's Neil Adams or, it might be Frank Miller later on. I had all these different types, and, I felt schizophrenic when it comes to Batman. I didn't know which one was my favorite. So I just went with Adam West. It worked out all right.
Well, now, you did do, I don't think we have any images from it right here, but you did do a graphic novel that was part of your Planetary series that featured shifting versions of Batman that allowed you to pay homage to pretty much every style that you liked over its 70-year history.
That was exactly it, and that's one of the reasons it happened in the first place, is that I got to express that love of this one hardcover book from when I was 4 and do, there's this shift in universes every time this guy sneezes or something, and boom, there's suddenly a different Batman, and it was about the most fun I could possibly have. And one of them looks a little bit like Adam West, I have to say. Yeah. Although DC wouldn't let me I actually drew it just like Adam West, really I did, and then DC wasn't so crazy. They didn't want it to be Adam West because Adam West might want money from it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't there are some artists that have gotten away with strict interpretations. Like right now in the regular Action Comics book, the artist Gary Frank is drawing Superman to look exactly like Christopher Reeve. And it's very fun and crazy and cool, but in many other cases, especially when it comes to Adam West, they will poke you with a hot poker if you get too close to that. Mm-hmm. It's all about relationships between different...
It's a shame. And it was one of my favorite pages, too, and as soon as I was told I couldn't do it, I said, okay, fine. I stuck it up on my website and told everybody to go.
So another thing is, back to the redesign of Superman for Kingdom Come, it'd be nice to, for many people in the audience, they know what Kingdom Come is, but there's also many people who don't. There's also many people who don't.
Well, they read the Bible.
You
mean the comic? You mean the comic?
Yes. So it'd be interesting to hear a little bit to hear some of your thoughts on designing Superman for Kingdom Come, especially since it's an Ellsworth book and then he comes into the DCU.
Which is more of a current thing. Basically, the Kingdom Come book is, the thing that I've gotten the most known for probably. It was the second major project I worked on. I pitched to DC back in 1994, I think. And it shows a world of the future where superheroes are overrunning the world by many, many thousands, and they're pretty much like a percentage of the population. And with that much power in the hands of individuals, you can imagine there's going to be conflict between mankind and superhuman kind. And Superman, who is then at that time retired, comes back out of retirement to try and help put some order to the world that's gone in great chaos. And the upshot of the series is it's a metaphor for the times we were living in comics publishing, where there was countless new characters being introduced in the 1990s. And I was trying to make a metaphor for where things in the way would ultimately go, which is that a lot of these hundreds of new characters would somewhat kind of explode and then collapse, and then at the end of the day, you're going to be left with Superman alive, living on, much like his most classic contemporaries like Batman and Wonder Woman. They would survive the upcoming apocalypse of superheroes. And in current comics, there's a series I'm regularly doing plot collaboration and covers for, Justice Society of America, and it has, from an idea I offered the writer, a way to bring back this Kingdom Come Superman at a moment of story where he's kind of trapped in our world, in our modern superhero world, where he can meet a sort of counterpart, younger version of himself, which in my art style looks pretty much exactly the same except without gray sideburns. So again, like I said, I envision Superman as an older man. Just, I don't know, it's what feels right for me. I see him as the patriarchal figure in all of comic books. So giving him some of the weight of age seems a viable and realistic way to approach the character. So, what else did I say about it?
Well, the other thing we also talked about in terms of bringing realism to the character. For first of all, the fact that you're painting the character, you don't just slap the spandex on. You know what I mean? It's like you actually see folds in the clothes sometimes, so they actually look like clothes. And also your use of models to do that as well.
Oh, yeah. And that's one of the little things I've done in my career is, since, as you might be able to tell from my work, it's endeavoring to be more photorealistic, and that comes from the kind of art training I had at an art school in Chicago called the American Academy of Art, where I was working from a live model each day of life drawing and realizing, like, hey, I draw so much better when I'm looking at something. Why don't I look at something more? And so I was going from there into advertising, and then from there with friends of mine who were fellow illustrators of mine and were big, buff, handsome guys. I asked them to model for me for a number of these characters, and so my friend who became my model for Superman, I would get him, and initially all I would do is just get him dressed up in a real tight-fitting blue shirt that had the same kind of look, so I could begin to analyze the way that the folds would work on the body, as opposed to trying to get rid of them as if it's just painted on. I wanted to kind of bring about a certain sense of realism. And over time, as I did more and more work with him over these many years, I would get I commissioned an entire Superman costume made for him, and then from there, I've gotten costumes.
Wait.
Yes, sir.
How do you go about commissioning a Superman?
Are you interested in finding somebody to get you a Superman
I was thinking of an Adam West Batman costume.
It can be done. That's one of the more popular ones to get done, too. Would you be the Adam West in question wearing the costume?
I'm more of a Riddler type.
I can't see that.
Anyway,
sorry.
You commissioned a Superman costume.
Anyway, so, and because I finally had the resources to do it, I was commissioning more of these outfits from a friend of mine who would make them for me, of different characters, just so I could, in a way, study exactly like what they do in films, study what's going to happen with the real clothing material, and just maybe there's certain reflections I'll learn from. This is the whole point of studying anything of life, is what is it going to put in your head that you didn't already have there? And that's why I keep coming back to using model reference, whether it's even for me sometimes action figures, to just quickly throwing a cape over myself and taking the poses just so I can study certain things that happen in life when you strike a pose than what my memory tells me. So anyways, the Superman experiment was one of my biggest and boldest steps forward for me, just feeling more in tune with a character and trying to bring him to life, and also just not approaching the character as if it's somehow paint put on the human form. It's, he's wearing something. So just little subtleties to pick up on.